Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. 3 mistakes that real estate investors are making right now, today, currently. Not all, but some. I used buy and hold real estate to reach financial freedom and retire. I've been retired almost a year now. More on that at the end of the video. No fluff, right to the stuff. The first mistake that a lot of real estate investors are making right now is saying this. And I actually see these mistakes I'm going to talk about talked about in the forums, not only decisions that investors are making, but advice that investors are giving to other investors to use. They say, I'm going to wait for interest rates to come down so I can buy a property. Some of these are the same investors who said during 2020 and 2021 that interest rates were too low, causing prices to go too high so they couldn't buy. Think about what I just said. When the interest rates were low, it caused prices to go too high for some investors to buy. Right now, we have high prices and high rates, and rents haven't caught up yet. So I understand it's hard to find a good deal. But if there is an investor who's expecting interest rates to come down so that they can afford to buy a property, they haven't thought about their competition. Our biggest competition as a buy and hold investor isn't other investors. It isn't hedge funds. It's actually home buyers. And some home buyers buy small multifamily. They've heard about house hack, how you can get a fourplex, a triplex, a duplex, or a house using the same 30-year fixed rate debt. So our competition is people who mostly buy based on payment. So if interest rates come down, that thing that those investors are hoping to happen, that's going to cause prices to go up. Meaning again that those people in 2020 and 2021 who said interest rates are so low, prices are too high, I can't afford to buy, are going to be in the same boat. If interest rates go down, prices will go up. This is one time that interest rates do correlate to prices. The second mistake that investors are making, and again, this is something I hear people saying as advice to other investors. People talk about the Fed raising interest rates with the goal of curbing inflation. One of the things that we can do to curb inflation is to stop wage inflation. The way that they do that is they raise the federal interest rate so that companies borrow money at a more expensive rate, causing unemployment to rise. If unemployment were to go up, or if it were to spike, like it did in 2009, 2010, and we had a housing crash because of a bunch of foreclosures flooding the market, because that's what causes prices to come down, forced sellers. So there are people right now that want to be buy and hold investors who are saying, not only to themselves, but to other investors, wait for unemployment to spike so that foreclosures cause the inventory to surge, which will cause prices to come down. The mistake here is not thinking about the timeline of this and something big that changed in 2020. First, it's the timeline. If companies start laying off, people have up to 6 months of unemployment. Most people with a working spouse receiving unemployment can still afford to make their payment for up to 6 months. Then if a foreclosure does start because they stop making their payments, that can take up to a year or a year and a half for a foreclosure to go through. So now you're talking the end of 2025, maybe 2026, for there to be enough foreclosures to actually go through to have an impact on the market. But let's remember, here's what changed in 2020. In 2008 and 2009, when unemployment spiked, and there was actually a lot of other things that caused that housing crash, like adjustable rate mortgages, ninja loans, people borrowing more than they should because they didn't have to verify their income, people borrowing 105% of the loan so they can wrap up the closing costs into the loan. Then the adjustable rate hit at the same time that people were getting on unemployment. So we had that massive surge of foreclosures. They offered forbearance. So a lot of people in late 2008, early 2009 went on forbearance. And when forbearance ended, meaning you don't have to make your mortgage payment, at least the principal and interest, at the end of that, the banks required that you pay all of the missed payments all at once, which started the foreclosure process. In 2020, when forbearance was offered, this is a different system. At the end of your forbearance period, lenders are taking the missed payments and putting at the end of the mortgage. So you don't have to come up with a big lump sum, meaning that there's a significantly smaller number of foreclosures that are happening because of the raising interest rates, causing unemployment that could lead to foreclosures. Now, I just turned 53 a couple of days ago. And right now, the unemployment rate is lower than at any point in time in my entire life. Since 1968, before I was born, we haven't seen unemployment numbers this small. So even if they doubled, we're not even to the point where foreclosures would happen at a large enough scale to impact the market. If they did, we're talking a year and a half to 2 years from now. If there wasn't forbearance that was structured the way that it is now. The third mistake that investors are making currently, right now, today, and I see this in the forums too, is saying, since interest rates have gone up, prices have to come down. I understand the logic on this. If interest rates come down, prices will go up because buying power increases. If interest rates go up, you would think that it would be the reverse correlation. As interest rates go up, prices should come down. And that's not what happens. What happens is buying power comes down. The last time interest rates doubled was in the 1970s. Home prices almost tripled. Within the last 12 months, interest rates have doubled. Home prices aren't going up as fast as they were. We saw 19% appreciation and 24% appreciation in the two counties that I invest. They're still up 5% from this time last year till now. And that's 5% on top of the 24, on top of the 19. So they're not going down. They're not crashing. In some markets, they are going down, and in some markets, they're going up. So the big mistake that's happening here is people saying, with interest rates as high as they are, prices have to come down. That's not what happens. What happens is a crash in transactions. The number of deals that are going to happen aren't happening. Here's one of the problems that happens when interest rates go up. And you think, if interest rates go up, people can't buy. So when people sell their house, there's going to be more inventory, which will cause prices to come down. The problem is with these high interest rates, we have a lot of people that have a house. They purchased a house and now they're either making more money or their family is growing and they buy a better, bigger house. Those buyers, those move-up buyers, trapped by their current low interest rate. If they purchased in 2020, 2021, or they purchased years before that and they refinanced in 2020 or 2021 when rates were at 3%, the idea now that they would go buy a more expensive house because it's bigger, maybe in a better neighborhood or has more rooms, at double the interest rate, has those people trapped in their house. So they can't sell those houses, which limits supply. The demand is there, and it's generally going to be cash buyers, people moving 1031 funds, subject to people assuming a mortgage at that lower rate, but there's not as many sales or transactions happening. And there's definitely not enough to cause prices to come down. So if we look at all three of these mistakes, waiting for interest rates to come down, which will cause prices to go up, waiting for foreclosures, which would be a long time from now, and with forbearance, it's not likely to happen, or waiting for prices to come down because interest rates are up. That is an investor that is trying to decide when to buy based on timing the market, which doesn't work. If somebody is saying, I am going to wait to buy because, and then insert any reason you want, or if somebody is saying, you better buy in a hurry because, insert any reason that you want, those are people trying to time the market. There's only two things that tell you when you're ready to buy. The first is, are you ready? Is there nothing weird or huge going on in your life, like a birth, a death, a divorce, job change, something that is going to take so much of your attention that you're probably going to buy a bad deal or not have the bandwidth to buy the deal the right way? And the second thing is, and this is the one that matters to me, did you find the deal? Did you find a deal that was good enough to buy at the offer that you make that won't get outbid, but still gives you the return that you're looking for? If you are ready and you found the deal, you buy that deal. It might happen tomorrow. It might take you 2 years to find that deal, but you buy the deal when you find it, not when something happens in the market that makes it the right time to buy, because that doesn't exist. And normally, at the beginning of my videos, I give a little bit of my story to tell you who I am so that if somebody finds my channel for the first time, they know why they should listen to me or why they should get out of the video because it might not be for them. But not today. Today, I waited to give this information until the end of the video. I reached financial freedom in less than 10 years, even though I wasn't starting from a great position. In 2008, I got laid off from a police department because during a recession, we know that there's no more crime, so we don't need cops anymore. I started teaching people how to drive trucks at a truck driving school, making $17 an hour, and I was a single parent with 3 kids. I found out about $89,000 in bad debt in my name that I didn't know existed until the divorce. Starting from that position, I was still able to reach financial freedom by not timing the market, by not waiting for rates to do anything. I was purchasing duplexes in 2018 when rates were as high as they are now. They were in the 6s. If I had waited for something to change in the market, I'd still be working. My goal now is to teach the average person that you can also reach financial freedom in 10 years or less, even if you're not starting from the best position. I put together a couple of courses. The first one is free. It covers my binder strategy. This is how I get my tenants to ask me to raise the rent. That makes it a lot easier to reach financial freedom and actually find cash flowing deals right on the MLS. All of my properties have been from the MLS with traditional lending. No secret sauce, no creative financing, no developing funnels. All of my properties are from the MLS. I also put together a course that covers the actual details on how I reached financial freedom. And in that course, I cover the exact timeline from start to finish on how a person starting in a bad position can reach financial freedom in 10 years or less. You can find a link to both of those courses in the description below. I'm going to be making some follow-up videos on more mistakes that investors are making. I'm going to be trying to limit them to 3 per video. Let me know in the comments below if you think I nailed it with these 3 mistakes, or if you think I'm way off base. Are you one of the people who's waiting for rates to come down? Waiting for prices to come down? Or waiting for enough foreclosures to happen to have an impact on prices? I hope this video at least made you think. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.